Only do business with people that you like. Simple advice, right? And it's from a money master, a ForbesBLK 50 money master. Breaking down our new Forbes list, coming right up on a special episode of Forbes Talks. Hello, everyone. This is Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes and editorial lead at ForbesBLK. And I am in our newsroom, our Forbes studio, joined by our Forbes fellow, Asia Alexander, here breaking down our new Forbes list, the ForbesBLK 50, the Money Masters. That's right. Now, we took our ForbesBLK 2024 lists, Power, Wealth, and Impact, and rethemed it a little bit to come up with our ForbesBLK 50, the Money Masters, right? Taking a look specifically at Black founders and CEOs and managing partners and managing directors within private investment, right? Private equity, private capital, and venture capital, right? Looking at only the best to come up with 50 names who are money masters. Looking at certain assets under management, come up with a special methodology. And in this video, we'll break it down talking about how we came up with those 50 names. Again, joined by my Forbes fellow, Asia Alexander. Now, listen, I'm not going to lie. Asia put together this list. This is her list. You put together this list. Asia, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this, as well as all the help that you put behind the scenes. I want to take time to have you introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what is a Forbes fellow, what exactly you do.
Yeah, so hey everybody, my name is Asia Alexander. I'm a graduate of Howard University, the real HU, and I'm a Forbes fellow here. And basically, I rotate throughout the newsroom, covering billionaires, education, and helping out with ForbesBLK. So thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you so much for all the help. And again, you put all of your effort into really helping write these bios of the 50 names that we came up with for the Money Masters. And the methodology is special, right? We took a methodology, and assets under management was one of our core methodology, one of the core metrics we used. If you're in venture capital, you had to have at least 100 million in assets under management. If you're in private equity or private credit, you had to have at least 300 to 400 million in assets under management. Now, in this list, we've identified even 3 new billionaires, right? For sure, 3 new billionaires. One of them is returning, and Bob Johnson, who is the founder of BET. We named him a billionaire in the past. Stuff happens, right? But now he is returning. I know for a fact that you really looked into Bob Johnson. You really helped put his wealth file together. What did you find? What did you like about identifying and bringing Bob Johnson back to life as a billionaire?
Yeah, Bob Johnson is just like iconic. I think as a Black individual, we all know what BET is.
Yeah.
We all know what it represents for the Black community. And so to look into his file, to bring him back, and to also just honor him as a staple in the Black community for bringing in other media voices like mine, like yours, was really sentimental to me. And I think as it pertains to just Black wealth in general, Bob Johnson was kind of like one of the pioneers who started to like invest in different companies and real estate properties, hotels, like things that you've never seen Black people do before. So it was a really interesting find, and I'm happy we were able to bring him back this year.
Yeah, I tell you, Bob Johnson, I mean, I know what BET meant for me back in the day. You're younger than me, I think, right?
Okay.
I think. What does BET mean to you? Because listen, I remember back when we had Rap City, VH1 it was with Video Soul with Donnie Simpson, and it was such a staple. Like if you wanted to find music, island music, Teen Summit, BET News, that was such a staple. It wasn't just entertainment, right? It was news as well. But as you watch it today, and I don't know if you watch the channel still, what does it mean to you?
I wouldn't even relate it to today.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, I have a younger aunt, and my young aunt was obsessed with 106 in Park. And my mom and dad used to go out and leave me and my brother at the house, and my young aunt would turn on 106 in Park. And I just remember being amazed at the culture and the music videos that I, saw on the TV screen. And not only that, but I just think BET is just... It was just beautiful as a kid to just see us on TV.
Yeah, I love it. And listen, people just think we come up with these names, but why don't you let people know the work that you had to put in to identify if Bob Johnson was a billionaire or not? Because it's not easy. It's right. And then, he's not cooperating with us, right? He doesn't want people to know. And so what does it take, and what does it, all the work that goes into it, like everything you have to do to really, secure and ensure that these individuals are who they say that they are?
Yeah, I mean, like, we're looking into everything. We're looking into like what he currently has stock in, how much he's worth currently. His, his VC firm, he has a lot of like real estate holdings, so
Yeah.
he invests in a lot of like commercial properties and no longer hotel properties. But we looked at all of that, and he had like shares in like Hilton, and it was a lot of things that went into it. But like what we look at the most currently is the value of how much what he did in early 2000s, maybe around 2001 and beyond, and how that inflates to current day money. And so we got him just around about $1 billion just by like his influence off of the BET sale, which him and his ex-wife Sheila Johnson sold for $3 billion, and how much he made off of that, and also his investments in sports teams as well.
Yeah.
And his losses from the sports teams actually made a huge difference in how we valued him as a billionaire. But he came up again.
Another individual, and he was elite, fine. But a brother named LaVoyd Robinson out in Chicago, right? CFI Partners, more in the private credit world. And I had a great talk with him, and I wanted to just break it down because not everyone knows what private equity, private credit, and what venture capital is, right? And you mentioned, Bob Johnson and his private equity firm, and a phenomenal, job that he's done over the years. I know he's winding down a little bit. But I explained it like this, and LaVoyd Robinson agreed with this. Now, this is a person who's been in this industry for a very, very long time. To how to break it down, how to explain it. Private credit, and I said, okay, maybe it's a card game, right? 3 card games. You look at venture capital. Venture capital is like the game Russian roulette. You ever play Russian roulette in the casino?
Actually,
right. That's one of the games where you land on a number, right? And you hope that number gets called out. And you put a whole bunch of chips on a whole bunch of numbers. And whatever number comes out, if it's 13 black or whatever, you got chips on that number, you win, right?
Okay.
That's what venture capital is. That's how they invest, right? You go put a whole bunch of money in all these companies, and you hope to find a unicorn, right? Private equity is like the game of poker, right? It's strategy. It takes more. It takes a long time. You have to find a company and squeeze the value out of it, right? Whatever value's left, and then go and resell it, hoping that you sell it for more than you bought it for, right? It can be a long-term game, though. It could be 5-10 years when you're in it. Strategy, right? That's what private credit, and that's what I relate to poker. Private credit, right, is different. Private credit, I explained to LaVoyd Robinson. He agreed with all this. He said, I said blackjack, right, where you got to come up with 21. You know how to play blackjack, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't know anything.
I'm just not a cards game girl.
That's all right. Well,
yeah,
you're going to learn now. You're going to learn now. But card game, it's blackjack, 21. You got to come up with the number 21. That's what private credit is. And that you have that comparison because private credit, you have to get it right almost all the time. You are taking a company that it looks bad on paper, right? They have mismanaged their money, and you are loaning them money at a high interest rate and hoping that they're going to pay it back, right? It's no different than taking somebody, a credit card company, and saying somebody with a 500 credit score and you giving them a credit card with a $10,000 balance. You got to hope that they pay that money back with interest, and they're going to do it and not miss any payments. You have to get it right because the one time you get it wrong, it can blow you all up, right? That's the lens, and those are the comparisons that I had with venture capital, private equity, and private credit, right? It's almost like a card game in each 3.
Yeah.
All in private investment. But I love these 3, and I really enjoyed talking to people like LaVoyd Robinson and understanding where they come from. I mean, this is a guy who's built the firm. He was with Citadel, right? For people who don't know Citadel, Ken Griffin and Citadel, one of the main pioneers in private credit, was working at his firm, spun out and done his own thing, right? Very, very intriguing people that you find. That's one of the people I found intriguing. Who's one of the people that you found intriguing in this list?
Whew, that's a good question. I think all of them were so interesting. But I would have to say my focus here at Forbes has been on education at HBCUs, always. So, and I'm an HBCU alumna, so I'm always going to find my people wherever we are. And I think all of the HBCU alums, there's 13 of them on this list, with 2 of them sitting on HBCU board of trustees, and like one of them is the Morehouse chair. So I found them to be the most intriguing, but I would have to say Lowe's Tony and Nazir Quadri, because they started endowments for their HBCUs, and that is something that I've been reporting on here at Forbes as it pertains to like billionaires giving money to HBCUs and creating these endowments, and how HBCUs are underfunded, but these alumni are actually taking the necessary steps to make sure that the students at their beloved HBCU have opportunities in venture capital, and that I can respect. And I just like hats off to them for doing that. And not just their universities, but also like Spelman College. And I just think it's amazing that they're taking the time to share the knowledge that they have and the money that they have to their universities.
Yeah, I found, Nasir Quandary, I had a chance to meet up with, that brother owns a venture capital firm, Zeal Capital Partners, down in the D.C. area. Very sharp, very, very sharp. And I met him, last year at some time. And we did the interview at the NASDAQ. It's easy for me. One of my favorites as well. But for me, Asia, Martin Nesbitt of Vistria out in Chicago. I found him to be so intriguing. Not only is he, a great investor, but he's probably most known to be, for his friendship with President Obama. Right?
Yeah.
Obama's one of his best friends. As you look at the Vistria Group, $17 billion in assets under management that they have created. And Martin Nesbitt, again, co-founded that particular private equity firm. And before that, was one of the co-founders of the parking spot, right? That parking garage that we probably all saw in the airport. And come to find out, you have Martin Nesbitt, who was one of the co-founders of that particular garage, sold that for, I believe, over $300 million years ago. But I found him to be one of the most intriguing individuals. Grew up in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and, made a way in Chicago. And then being Obama's best friend and supporting him when he ran for the House, lost. Right? Wanted to run for the House, lost, and then win the Senate. And obviously, we know what happens after that, him winning the President of the United States. Another individual who was close to Obama, Robbie Robinson, was on this list, who was one of his financial advisors.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that are on this list, one thing that I found fascinating is not only the amount of access that they have as Black people, but also like what this list will do for other generations and how it will inspire other Black children to actually take, a step into like finance, or it's like show them that there are Black people in this same caliber. And I think like Martin Nesbitt and other people on the list, like they are so connected.
They are.
And they really influence things that we interact with every single day. And I found that so fascinating. Like, I'm a matcha lover. Like, I love matcha. Like,
I didn't know that about you.
Oh, love matcha.
I get you some matcha. Yeah.
That's so
For helping
tea.
me put together and doing some of the research for this, I'm gonna buy you some matcha.
No, that is actually tea. Like, I would actually like love that. Like, I love matcha. And when it was hot in New York, I used to take the train from Jersey and like go to Blank Street every Saturday morning and walk the whole Manhattan. Like, that was my thing when I first moved here. And to know that one of the people on this list is behind funding Blank Street, I was like, hold on, like I'm supporting a Black man while drinking my matcha. Like, that's amazing. So like, when you guys like read this list, they're gonna find some stuff that we normally interact with, and you're gonna be like, wow, like a Black person did that.
Yeah,
like, and that was my realization. Like, we can do like anything.
It matters. It matters, and that's something that in an interview that I was listening to Martin Nesbitt say about exposure. Not too many people know that this world exists for them, right? They know. 2 stories, and before I get to those stories, I say, did you find any challenge with doing the list, right? I mean, listen, when we first started, I think it was a blank piece of paper. I was looking at a screen like, all right, how the hell am I going to come up with 50 names? But again, through the essence and working with the National Association of Investment Companies and NAIC, Bob Green has been phenomenal. Derek Jones, a former chairman at Grosvenor, has been phenomenal in helping. My friend Jake at Blueprint Capital has been phenomenal at helping really identify. But what challenge was it for you when you were researching all these names? 'Cause I know I give you a list like, all right, Asia, go find him, her, and him.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it had to do more with how their assets under management were filed.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can talk more about this. I learned a lot doing this list as well, that, even though they're of high caliber and, they have all these assets under management, there is still systematic like racism that they also face in the business world. And I mean, like, you can talk more about it. You were telling me about, like, like the pitch book stuff and like how a lot of Black people just don't file because they don't trust the institutions. And I was actually having this conversation with one of my friends because I was just so intrigued by how much of these PE and VC firms don't like to file their paperwork and don't like for people to not kind of know how much they have under assets under management. And I was saying, like, I feel like it has a lot to do with generational trauma from, like, Black Wall Street and Tulsa Massacre, and just Black people feeling like they can't expose wealth. And, like, why is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, on this list, you have some of the highest of the highest caliber of Black people. But still, they feel some type of, like, pressure to, like, not show exactly what they all have. So I think that was my,
The challenge,
Yeah.
That is, there are people who, you've talked about this. I'm not going to name them, but they didn't want to be on this list.
Yeah,
They
for
were
sure.
like, hey, leave me off. And it's like, I can't. Because leaving you off might harm the list.
Yeah.
Right? People, and I hate that one of the individuals said, and explained it that, some Black people get torpedoed when their name get exposed. And I get it. And I hate that.
Yeah.
But as you said, this is for the next generation. This is because the ecosystem, because of the trauma of Black Wall Street, because of things that happened in the past, the ecosystem of knowing who we are has been damaged. Trying to revive that a little bit. I think other outlets and magazines have done it over the years. Just a new way to bring it to a new generation of storytelling. And so I'm very happy because, the two stories that, put in this list stood out the most, one of which came from Derrick Jones of Grosvenor, former chairman of Grosvenor. And I was talking to him, and he said he goes into classrooms all the time. And Derrick Jones was one of the men behind the scenes, fund of funds in a way, but, at Grosvenor helping some of these firms, like the Robert Smiths, like the Stefan Kaluznis of the world, get established.
Yeah.
He was behind the scenes helping them get money, helping them, get funded for their firms. Robert Smith doesn't get to $100 billion in assets under management if it's not for people like Derrick Jones, right? And so utilizing his, his institutional knowledge, and he was telling me how he goes into classrooms sometimes, and he's always asking them, hey, name me all of your NBA players. Like, who makes the most money? And everybody raised their hand. Oh, LeBron, this player, Steph. And he says, Robert Smith has more than all of them.
Yeah.
And very few of them know. And Robert Smith is in private equity, and they're blown away.
Yeah.
And that's the type of stuff like, man, you need more of that type of storytelling.
Yeah.
So when he told me that, I was like, oh, this is phenomenal. And then Martin Nesbitt, again, kind of saying, hey, the reason why you don't see more Black individuals in, alternate investments, and this is what that is in private equity, private credit, and venture capital, is exposure.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
If you're not in a certain group, if you don't go to an elite Ivy school, you may not know. And so I hope that this list, as you said, fuels that.
Yeah.
It fuels you, and you're of a younger generation, as I told you it would. I said, Asia, at the beginning of this, you are going to learn a lot, okay? Because I learned a lot even, vetting some of these things, but you're going to learn a lot. And it sets off a new version of storytelling. So listen, I'm going to get you out of here on this, right? Because we have researched these individuals, looked into their companies, listened to interviews, dived into their lives and all of that. I would think that we know what to invest in if one of them came in here right now and said, hey, here's 10 grand. Here's $10,000. What does Asia Alexander, our fellow at Forbes, who has been tracking billionaires, who has been looking at investments, right? You got $10,000 from one of these ForbesBLK 50 money masters. What's the first thing you invest in? What did you learn? Come on.
That's a great question. Oh, my goodness. Like a lot of these founders and co-managing partners and people on this list, they invest in passion-fueled things and things that really, like, cater to the needs of our community, to women and to children and to healthcare and to all different types of things. So, we're not monolith. And I think that's what this list shows, is that, like, Black people aren't monolith, and we have so many gifts and talents, and it's okay to, like, invest in them. And so I would say that, like, I would probably take the $10,000. I don't know. I would probably, honestly, if I'm being real, I love my university. I would probably start an endowment at my university.
That's fair.
Low Tony really inspired me. I was like, this is generational wealth.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it means to be inspired by a university and by people that attended the university with you. get money and give it back, and not only give it back, but make sure the kids have scholarships and make sure they're able to go to school and make sure that the university is still up and standing. So I would take my $10,000 and do that.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Asia. We really appreciate, you taking the time out to really help establish this list. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
The Money Masters, again, a retheme, version of the ForbesBLK Power Wealth Impact. And who knows, maybe it sticks around. Maybe this is the one. But I really have fun seeing these names, identifying some of these people. I hope you did as well. And I hope the reader and the listener and the viewer also take some education from this list, the ForbesBLK 50 Money Masters. That's it from here at the Forbes studio, special edition of Forbes Talks. I'm Jabari Young for Asia Alexander. See you next time.